And we're back. All right, so folding towels. Yay. I guess I'll start with the large towels, the bath towels, and then the hand towels, and then the washcloths. Just because, you know, size issues and space. So I just fold them in half that way. Fold them in half again in the same direction. Make sure everything's nice and even. Smooth them out. And then in thirds. Ta-da! So I don't even remember. Oh, I think the last thing we were talking about, I ended up in tears because I miss everybody back home. So yeah, life isn't the same on a few different levels. It wasn't the same before I got sick because, like I said, I missed everybody. But it was easier because I was so busy all the time with driving 45 minutes to work in the mornings, working an 8-hour, sometimes 10-hour shift, depending on the situation. And then driving another 45 minutes back home. And then whatever life had to offer here. It would be usually that I would get home shortly after Marianne got off the bus. She used to get off the bus at like 3:30 in the afternoon. And then I would get home about 4 after an 8-hour day. And then when it was warm enough weather and the pool was open, we would head over to the pool. I would set a timer so that it would go off at like 4:45 so we could come back to the house and I could start getting dinner ready. So that was like warm weather. The cooler weather, I would get out of work, drive home. She'd be off the bus. The rule was she would come home, she would check the mail, and put the clean dishes away from the dishwasher. Those were her chores to do, which she does get an allowance for. And that was just, so she would do that, get her chores done. I would get home, and then, like, if there was someplace she wanted to go, a park or Walmart or what have you, we would do that. Because Bill wouldn't get home from when he worked days, which he doesn't work days anymore. He works overnights. So either he would work days and get home at 5-ish o'clock. So it was just her and I from the time that I got home, which is only a half hour after she got home. So her and I would do stuff together, watch a movie, whatever, depending on weather and things that we may or may not have planned. So we would do stuff, and then it would be time to make dinner. Sometimes she would help me cook, sometimes not. Bill would come home, we would have dinner, and then we'd sit on the couch, half the time I would fall asleep, quite honestly, because I was getting up at 3 o'clock every morning because I had to leave the house by 4 in the morning. So usually after dinner I would fall asleep watching TV. But I made time for her when I did get home from work every day. So there was that. And Bill had his alone time, his time with her in the evenings. So, and then on the weekends, we would have our family time to go do whatever, go to the mall or go to, maybe a festival or whatever. I remember one year we went to the Renaissance Fair. So, I mean, pretty standard life. Now it's a little bit more difficult. I'm home every day. I do chores when I have the energy. Whew, getting warm. I'm going to have to take off my hoodie. And then she comes home from school and that's enough, sir. Thank you. I see them. That's mommy's big, strong protector. You're a good boy. Sorry. He gets antsy when people walk by. So yeah, she gets home, checks the mail, empties the dishwasher. Sometimes she'll hang out and we'll watch TV or a movie or something. But majority of the time she goes up to her room. She's in that phase now. Teenagers, they spend majority of their time alone in their room, on the phone with their friends, playing video games, whatever. And, we let her do her own thing. She's her own person. I do cherish the mommy-daughter times that we have. And like I said, it's just part of her growing up and becoming a teenager. I don't know. What else can I tell you about my life, seeing as how it's a day in the life? I don't know. There are puzzle games that I play on my phone. Oh, Bible study. We do Bible studies. So, Wednesday nights, Marianne has her youth group where she does her Bible. They play games and just talk and hang and stuff like that. And then they have their worship time. And then they break off into their small groups and do their small group Bible studies. And she does that on Wednesday nights. I have my women's Bible study on Tuesday nights. It's every other week though on mine. Hers is every week. Mine's every other week. And we meet up, and currently we're just about to start our study of the book of Acts. So our church will get together and decide as a group, as a church, what we're going to study. So 2 years ago, we did something called the Bible Recap, which involves reading the Bible cover to cover, which I had never done before. And it was great. I learned a lot of things. Because a lot of times, I don't know about you, but a lot of times with me, I had a relationship with God growing up, but as I got older, not so much. And then I got to a point where I felt like I wasn't worthy of a relationship with God. I thought that because I had strayed, I had no right to ask for favors, kind of thing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's where my head was at, basically. And I didn't go to church. I grew up in a Catholic household, and I didn't go to church as an adult because I was very disenchanted with the Catholic religion as a whole. And so I didn't go to church. What changed that was Marianne, actually. After she had moved in with us, she made friends with some neighbors, and they would go to church on Sundays. And when she would, like, sometimes she would spend the night at their house, and she'd be like, "Hey, Mommy, can I go to church with them?" And I'm like, "Sure, of course." Because I'm not going to tell her no. I want her to have a relationship with God, regardless of my feelings on it. So she would go to church with them. And then those people ended up moving away, because we live in an apartment complex. So those people moved, and she had asked Bill and I if we could start going to church. And we were like, okay. So I started looking up churches, and I had, said to Bill, how about this one? How about this one? All I knew was that I did not want to join a Catholic church again. So, but I didn't know much about other religions. So I was suggesting different ones like Episcopal and Baptists and just all kinds of not knowing. And so Bill was looking into it. He's like, man, not this one because this, that, and the other. And because he had been to different churches and he knew, what the ins and outs were of other churches. So he goes, you know what? I'll look into it and, we'll check one out. So it took a couple weeks, but then he said, okay, how about we check out this one church? It's right around the corner. So it was very convenient as far as that goes. So we went one Sunday. And just from that one time, that's all it took. One time. And I felt very comfortable. They were very welcoming. And just, it was nice. I enjoyed the worship part of it very much. I'm a musical person. Music makes me feel good. So that aspect of it, I really enjoy the worship part of our service. There's not a weekend that goes by that I don't cry at some point over the songs that we sing for worship. Which I never did go into a Catholic church because I didn't feel the connection. When I sang, it was just words. They didn't mean anything. And this was before I was sick. Was when we started going to this church. And it just, like I said, the songs didn't have any meaning to me. When the priest in the Catholic Church did his gospel and homily, I just sat there and listened because that's what you're supposed to do. It didn't really sink in. I was there because I had to be. growing up, we were forced. And that's how it went. You went to church because you were told, and you sat there because you were told, and you behaved yourself. And after the hour, you went home, and that was that. It didn't mean anything. It was a ritual that I just did because it was easier than getting yelled at for not going. So going to this church was a whole new experience. Like I said, the music really moved me. And it felt right. Then we sat through, the service, and I listened to the words that the pastor was saying for his, they don't call it a homily. What do they call it? I forget what they call it now. Stupid brain. Anyways, he went up there and went over what we were talking about in the Bible. And so when we got home, he's like, well, actually it was before we even got home, we were in the truck. And he's like, so what do you think? And I'm like, I love it. I love this church. This is our church. So we had been going, this is like 2 years now, because Marianne got baptized in January of 2024. And we had started going there, I'll say mid-year of 2023, I think it was. Mid to end year of 23. I want to say. Maybe. Yeah. They hold events every year, certain events. They have the Easter egg hunt. They have the Halloween extravaganza that they do. We've had, we do Christmas candlelight service. We don't do it at midnight like I'm used to in the Catholic Church. We do it at a reasonable hour. Thank you, Pastor Kent. And anyways, the church is called Hope Fellowship Church. They do have a YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to no matter where you are, at Hope 615. So it's HOPE 615, because 615 is the area code for Tennessee. And I invite you to just check it out, see how you feel about it. Like I said, I love it. We have 3 services, an 8 o'clock, a 9:35, and an 11:10 service. The 9:35 and the 11:10 service are what go on the YouTube. The 8 o'clock is not broadcast. And we go to the 8 o'clock service just because Bill goes and works overnight, sometimes on the weekends. So he gets out of work, comes home, takes a shower, and we head right over. So that way he can come back home and try to get some rest, because regardless on whether he works on the evenings, he always has to go in Sunday night, because that's technically his Monday, Sunday night into Monday morning. If you ever do overnight, you know how that works. So we go to the earliest service possible, so that way he can try to get some sleep. He does volunteer at the church. He also has a Bible study group that he goes to every other Saturday morning. It's a men's group. And they have breakfast together and they do their Bible study. So yeah, that's what took me down that rabbit hole. Wow. So yeah, we started 2 years back doing a deep dive into the Bible, where we did something called the Bible Recap by Tara Lee Cobble, which I recommend. It's really great. You can find it on the Bible app on your phone, or you can buy the book itself. And it basically just gives you an introduction to what you're going to read for that day. You do your reading for that day, and then she does basically a recap and goes over what you just read and explains it more in depth, so it's relatable to today's things, to today's world. So that's the Bible recap, and we did that in 2024. And then this past year, we did, as a church, we did the 4 Gospels. Also, those were by Tara Lee Cobble as well, where she goes in depth into each of the 4 Gospels, and there's a book for each of those. It's Knowing Jesus As series, basically. And one of them is, I forget what it is, but it's Knowing Jesus As. And there's a blue book and a green book and a yellow book and a red book. And those dive into the 4 Gospels. Then in our Bible study starting this year, well, actually last year in the Bible study group at the back half of the year, my small group, my ladies group, we also studied the book of Revelation. And now in the new year, the church as a whole, we're doing we're starting with the book of Acts. So we do our Bible studies, we do every other week, like I said, and we meet up for like a few months. We don't meet during the summer just because people are busy with vacationing and taking their kids to camp and all that kind of stuff. So we take a hiatus during the summer. So we do the beginning of the year and then the end of the year. So like for 3 or 4 months, we're going to be, like I said, we're starting the book of Acts. So let me grab the book that they gave us. It's this book right here. Acts, Seeing the Spirit at Work. And this book is by John Stott. Now, earlier I referenced the Bible app that I have on my phone. They also have, under the plane, across the bottom, they have all the little tabs. And they have a tab called Plans. And in there you can find different books. I think this one's probably on there. But you can find different books where it gives you a plan. And you read certain verses on certain days. And there's even a thing where you can hit play and it'll read it to you. Which I find helpful because when I was working, I would set it up in my car in the mornings after making everybody's lunches and getting out the door. I would load it into onto my phone and then play it as I drove, because I'm driving for 45 minutes. I'm kind of trapped. Not getting away. Here you go. Here's your Bible study. Takes your mind off the drive. So I would do my Bible study while driving. And it will automatically read the verses that you're assigned for that day. And you can do the introduction and the recap as well. It'll just play through the whole thing. So you can do it that way as well. So yeah, I finished folding the towels. And I'm going to go put them in the towel cupboard. And then I'm probably going to sweep the floor and... Oh, look at that. It's 10:25, which means Bill will be home in about an hour. So I'm going to sign off for now. Put the towels away, sweep the floor, and by then he will be home and he can talk about his day. I'll make him something to eat, and then he'll probably go to bed. Alrighty, so again, I'll see y'all later. Bye.